Come on in and let's make a great watercolor card with die cuts for Christmas. So let's play with some Fluid 100 watercolor paper. And I want to talk just a little bit about this paper because if you've ever tried to watercolor before and you've used cardstock, you probably have not been that successful. This paper is a little bit different. It's got a lot of cotton in it. It's actually very soft, it's very porous, and it has just a little bit of a rough surface. It's not so rough that it's cold pressed paper, but it's hot pressed, meaning the temperature when they press it together is a little bit hotter. And so it creates a nice smooth surface. Now, if you're stamping on this, you may have a little bit of a challenge because it's just not as smooth as our cardstock, but it is wonderful for watercolor. So I've taken one piece and I've cut it in half, and we are going to play with this for creating a watercolor background. And what we're going to use for our watercolor are our ink refills. And I've chosen 3 colors here: Lemon Lolly, Lost Lagoon, and Coastal Cabana. And you can see here that what I normally do is write on the top of them what my colors are so that I can easily pick them up and use them right away. We're also going to use our Stampin' Spritzer, and I just have plain water in this one. And we're going to use our water painters. So there are 3 water painters in our package. There's a small brush tip, there's a large brush tip, which we're going to use today, and then there's a flat one. So the large brush tip looks like this. So you can see that it's got a nice pointy tip on it. And how you use it is we are going to press where it says push. Now I've got enough water in here. It's not full, but it should be enough for what we're going to do today. Now what you also want to have is an acrylic block, and mine, I'm using a large size, but it doesn't need to be this large. And what I do is I start with just a drop of my ink refill, and I usually start with my lightest color to the left. And here I have 2 relatively dark colors and one really light one with that yellow. So we're going to be careful how we put it down onto our paper. And I do have some other samples to show you at the end. So what I do is I start out by spritzing my water onto my paper. And so you can just, I don't know, you probably want 4 or 5 spritzes on top of here. You want it to look a little bit shiny, but not like the water is rolling off of it. So I have a little arrow on my spritzer to help me point it in the right direction. And I'm just going to give it a few shots here, try and actually get the paper, not just my glass mat. And that's just going to lay down the surface. And now I'm just going to press here, push where it says push, and I'm going to get some water out onto my acrylic block. So I just want a lot of water there. Now make sure you also have a piece of paper towel. So we're going to start with our lightest color first, and that's going to be our yellow. Now what you can do first too is just make sure you do have water everywhere on that paper. And if you don't, I'll hold it up so you can see. So it's quite shiny, but it's not dripping. So that's good. So I'm just going to pick up some of this yellow. I'm going to put my paintbrush right in top of there, and then I'm just going to put it onto my cardstock in a couple different places. And there's no magic to this. I'm using my brush on its side. I'm going to go from the yellow right into the Coastal Cabana, and again, you don't need very much here, and you're just creating lines. And you're picking it up. What you're not doing is scrubbing it. So you don't want to scrub it in one spot or the other. Now just sort of clean that off a bit, pick up a little bit of the Lost Lagoon. Now the Lost Lagoon is going to be our deepest color. And so you want to use a little less of this, and you can always go back in and add a little bit more. So I'm going to clean my brush off just to get rid of some of that Lost Lagoon, because you'll see it'll come out a little bit green. And I want to go back into my yellow and create a little bit of the yellow down here. Now the yellow together with the Lost Lagoon and the Coastal Cabana will come into a green color, and that's perfect for trees. So let's pick up a little bit more of that Coastal Cabana, and you can always go back and give yourself a little bit more ink refill if you like. Now I'm going to take my spritzer and I'm just going to wet that a little bit more. Now there are lots of ways that you can create backgrounds. This is just one way. And so what we're going to do, it doesn't matter if you have lines, if you have splotches, because we're going to cut this out using a detailed die. So set that aside to dry, and I already have another piece here, and here's the piece. This one has a little bit, let's show you the difference. This one has a little bit more yellow in it, and I did a little bit more squiggling around, but we're going to use this one to cut with. Now you can go ahead and just clean off and get that dried. You can also get rid of that little bit of ink on there, because you only need just that tiny bit, and we are good to go. So now what we want to do is we want to create with this. So we're going to be using a new bundle out of the 2024 holiday catalog, and it's called Decorative Trees. So it's a stamp set, and it is a set of fabulous dies. Let's talk about the stamp set first. So there's all kinds of images in here. This guy will fit right in top of here, but you can decorate a tree, so your Christmas tree. I love the greetings because they're a mix of almost our own handwriting, so cursive or brush you can say, and then there's this solid, very sans serif it's called for the rest of it. And that mix you see a lot in rubber stamps right now because it really is a very attractive part. So I've pulled out Season's Greetings for this one. And let's talk about those dies. So these are fabulous. I love these dies. There are 6 large. This one here will cut out the shape here, but it will also just cut out a regular one, a regular piece of paper, but it's got this fun little tree here, which you can use inside or you can use it on its own. And all of these ones cut out different types of shapes. And I have them all cut out, so I'm going to show you at the end some different color combinations and some different cards. And then there's 2 little ones here as well. And you can decorate your trees with some garland, some bows, some baubles. This is actually the bottom of the tree, so the little bottom. And then this is this image right here where the bow is hanging. So what are we going to use? I think we're going to use a little one. We're going to use this squiggly little guy. So let's put him on. It doesn't really matter where we put him on, but I think I'm going to put him on. You can put him on right down here. I don't know why it's a him. You can put it on right here, and that's going to get you a different mix of colors. I'm going to put it on here because I think I want to try and get a little bit more of the green showing. So I'm going to run that through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. And when you bring it back, now one thing to note about this paper is that it's a little bit thicker. So you can put your adhesive sheet on the back, so you have double-sided adhesive, because this is a pretty detailed die, but it might be a little bit more difficult to cut out. So in that case, what you want to do is run it forward and back a couple times like this, and then turn it over. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. You can see here that this is thicker paper. It's not gone completely through this die cut machine. So I'm going to run this through this way this time so that I can get it all the way through. So you can see the difference this time in the back, how it's cut through the paper. Now that's going to be even more difficult if you do have an adhesive sheet on the back, but I'll show you how to apply glue to this too. So I can just pull this right off. Here is my tree. Now it'd be sort of pretty, quite like this, in fact, but I'm going to take out all those pieces. Now often I will leave the metal on there to do this because then it stops doing this curling up, but I'm just using my take your pick tool with the die brush on it, pulling these out so that you can see these nice fine sort of scrolling lines. Curly-Q lines, really. So that's what it looks like once it's completely cut out and you have all the backing pieces gone. Now let's use that on a card. So the colors I pulled in is Coastal Cabana for our card base, and I've also pulled in a piece of basic white that I've just put some Lost Lagoon on the bottom. So I took a piece that was about this big and I just tore it, and then I glued one piece up here and one piece down below. And then I wrapped some white baker's twine around and I just gave it some little curls because I wanted it to mimic the curls and scrolls in the tree. So now let's stamp a greeting. We're going to use Coastal Cabana to go with the background card, the card base. And I've pulled in the season's greetings, as I said, and we are just going to try and get this as straight as possible. So ink that up, and then I'm going to actually put that over onto the right-hand side. Make sure you have lots of ink. It doesn't look like I have a lot of ink coming here. So I'm just going to ink that a little bit more. And let's just stamp it over here. Yep, it's stamping. Okay, so that's one thing you can do with your glass mat is you're able to stamp it off, put it somewhere where you're not going to get your card on it. And then let's put it down here. Try and get it as straight as possible. And let's glue down our tree. So you want to pull in your silicone craft mat to do this. You could do it right on your glass mat, but what you want to do is use your Tombow liquid glue. If you happen to have one of these little guys here, it will come out even finer, but I want to show you you can do it with your liquid glue. So I'm going to press gradually the whole time that I'm trying to dab glue. So I want to get that going, and then you're going to just apply tiny little dots each time you set it down. You're just going to push a little bit so that you get a little dot coming out. And I will hold this up in just a minute so you can see what I mean. So an adhesive sheet for sure is going to be a helpful tool here, but just know you're going to have a harder time getting it through the watercolor paper as well as the adhesive sheet backing. So you don't have to go especially fast. Just give yourself that little tiny dot, and if you have it in enough places, it should be sufficient to hold down the entire tree. I'm going to put a couple down here as well. This is such a pretty tree. Okay, so you might want to take your tweezers, and these ones work wonderfully. So I'm going to pull this around this way so I can pick it up. And now I'm going to place this over here, and I'm just going to let go, and I'm going to glue it down. Now you might need to set something on top of that, like that block, just to glue it down and make it stick, but it's going to be pretty good with that Tombow liquid glue. Now I do just want to clean off that season's greetings because I will forget that it's there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just glue that on top of the card base using our liquid glue. And again, make sure you stick around to the end so you can see some of the other samples I created because these trees are especially wonderful. Okay, glue that down into the center. So a pretty simple card, really the whole technique is what really grabs your eye here. And we are going to put a little bit of bling on that. So I'm pulling in our tinsel gems. There's a 3-pack and a 4-pack. And there are 3 colors and 4 colors. And here we have Misty Moonlight, Fresh Freesia, and Lost Lagoon, which is going to go great. And in the 4-pack, we have Pretty Peacock, Blueberry Bushel, we have Berry Burst, and we have Lemon Lime Twist, which I thought was actually pretty good for the yellow here. So you're going to need your take your pick tool, and then we're just going to put a few of these on. So there's your card. Now I want to share with you a couple other different cards so you can see different colors. So this one is a lighter image for Christmas. This is the first one I created, and it's using very similar colors, but this is Summer Splash. So, and again, there's your snowflake tree using the same dots. Here's another one, and it's on white again, but we have a Lost Lagoon background this time. And this is the tree that has holly leaves in the middle of them. So I want to show you a couple other of the cutouts and different color combos. So this one here is a much more vibrant one. So this one we have Summer Splash, Granny Apple Green, and Lemon Lime Twist. So it gives you a much more in-your-face kind of color. This one here, we go into some totally different color tones. So we have Gorgeous Grape, we have Balmy Blue, and we have a little bit of our Coastal Cabana in this one as well. And then one more that I want to show you, a different card. Here's another idea, but this one has some more vibrant tones with Shaded Spruce and Blueberry Bushel. And I think that we also have a little bit of Pretty Peacock in this one as well. So there you go. There's some ideas. I hope you really give this watercolor technique a try because it is fun. You'll get a variety of backgrounds each time that you give this a try. So thanks very much for watching. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button and head on over to my blog at designwithjo.ca and sign up for my email. When you do, you'll get a free gift, and I only send emails once a week with all kinds of information and free stuff that I don't share anywhere else. Thanks very much. Have a great paper crafting day.